everyone, welcome back. In this video, I am going to walk you through the burglary case fact pattern using the analytical framework from chapter 1 of Thinking Like a Lawyer by Van de Velde and what we learned in class by Professor Dixon. In chapter 1, it focuses on how lawyers think through problems systematically, first identifying the issue, determining the rule, breaking it into elements, applying the facts, and reaching a reasoned conclusion. So I'm going to walk you through, follow the exact same steps here. The first step in legal reasoning is identifying the precise legal issue. The issue here is, did Frank commit burglary when he broke into the house during the rain? More specifically, did Frank commit burglary under the rule provided, which defines burglary as breaking and entering a dwelling of another at night with the intent to commit a felony inside. So, the question here isn't whether Frank did something wrong generally, but the question is whether all the required legal elements of burglary are satisfied. Now we're going to do that step by step. According to the rule in the fact pattern, burglary requires 1. Breaking, 2. And entering, 3. The dwelling of another, 4. At night, and 5. With the intent to commit a felony inside. Van de Velde emphasizes that legal rules are structured and element-based. That means every single rule must be satisfied. If even one of the element fails, the crime is not established. So now we move into rule-based reasoning by testing each element against the facts. Element 1 would be breaking. Frank broke a window to get into the house. Under the traditional common law reasoning, I would say, even minimal force qualifies as breaking, so breaking a window clearly satisfies this element. So the breaking element is met. Element 2 would be entering. Frank physically entered the house through the window and even went upstairs. Entry is satisfied once any part of the body crosses the threshold. Here, full entry occurred, so this element is clearly met. Element 3 would be dwelling of another. The house belonged to someone else, specifically Billy. Frank did not know whose house it was, but that does not matter. It was still the dwelling of another person, so this element is satisfied. Element 4, at night. The fact states that this occurred at night during rainfall, so the nighttime requirement is satisfied. Up to this point, 4 out of the 5 elements are clearly met, and now we reach the most important and the most legally complex element. Element 5, the intent to commit a felony inside. Van de Velde explains that intent must exist at the time of entry. This is crucial. The mental state cannot form afterwards. So, what was Frank's intent when he broke into the house? The facts tell us that he broke into the house to escape the heavy rain. He thought the house was empty. There is no indication that he intended to commit a felony inside at the moment he entered. Now later, when he saw Billy, he fired a gun. That could potentially be attempted assault or another felony. But under rule-based reasoning, the timing really matters. If Frank formed intent only after seeing Billy, then the burglary requirement is not satisfied, because burglary requires intent at the moment of breaking and entering. So, we have to ask, was there evidence that Frank entered intending to commit a felony inside? Based strictly on the facts, no. He entered to escape the storm. Therefore, the 5th element appears to fail. Now, Thinking like a lawyer also requires considering counter arguments. So, one of the counter arguments could be that Frank was already carrying a loaded handgun and had been actively searching for Billy earlier while threatening him. That might suggest a broader criminal intent. However, there is no evidence he believed Billy was inside this house. He thought it was empty. Without evidence, um, he intended to commit a felony inside Ed entry, the prosecution would struggle to prove that element beyond a reasonable doubt. So even though Frank later committed a violent act, burglary requires intent at entry. Using Van de Velde's structured legal reasoning method, 4 of the burglary elements are satisfied. The 5th element, intent to commit a felony at the time of entry, is not clearly satisfied. Therefore, Frank clearly did not commit burglary under the rule provided, although he may be guilty of other crimes such as attempted assault or unlawful discharge of a firearm, and that is how we apply rule-based reasoning step by step, and that's exactly what chapter 1 teaches us. And this is all I have for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next week. Bye.